Hi everybody, I hope everyone's doing well. This video I will be sharing with you guys my comparative review or thoughts on two of the most recently released and most hyped about foundations. So if you guys are interested, do stick around. So the two foundations I'm referring to are none other than the YSL Fusion Ink Foundation and the Dior Skin Star Foundation. These two foundations have been released this season and they've also been the most spoken about and the most reviewed foundations. And I actually got a question or an inquiry on Instagram when I posted about, I think, my September favorites, asking me which one I preferred and wanting to know my thoughts on both. So I thought this was really going to be a good video content or topic because a lot of the reviews out there are just reviewing them individually, and so instead of just, I've already done the full review of the YSL Fusion Ink, and I was thinking of doing the Dior Skin Star on its own, but there's a gazillion out there, so I thought it would be actually more interesting and informative to do a comparative review on both. So I'm going to begin with a few of the basic things that both products have. So in terms of how much you get, the quantity of actual product you get, I was quite surprised to know that the YSL Fusion Ink only has 25 fluid ounce. Usually standard foundation quantities or size is 1 fluid ounce, and I've never seen any brand or product fall short from that. So I was actually shocked that this is 5 fluid ounce less than standard. The Dior Skin Star still very much follows traditional foundation standards. This is a 30 ml foundation or 1 fluid ounce. Now in terms of price point, I was surprised as well that given that this is 5 ml less, this retails for $60 US, while the Dior Skin Star retails for $50 US. So very surprised. But I did a full review on the YSL Fusion Ink, so I will put the link down below. I'm just gonna basically tell you guys what both foundations essentially are. The YSL Fusion Ink is one of the foundations that fall within the new category of serum foundations. So they're like skincare and color foundation or coverage in one, whereas the Dior Skin Star is very much a traditional foundation. The difference in this foundation is that it's a brightening foundation. That's how it's marketed as. It is called the Studio Makeup Spectacular Brightening Weightless Perfection with sunscreen. In terms of sunscreen, YSL Fusion Ink has an SPF of 18 and the Dior Skin Star has an SPF of 30. So now to just get down to the meat of what you guys are wanting to hear with regards to which is better. So I'm doing this review in Manila, so the assumption is the weather is tropical, it's humid, and even if it's October, it still very much feels like summer. We range from, I guess, high 20s to 30s, so that's still very hot compared to a lot of the other places in general. So my review is going to be based on that, and also based on the fact that I am normal to combination skin, but since living in Manila and being based here, my skin has really become a true combination skin. My T-zone is very much gets oily fairly quickly than when I used to live in Vancouver. And also for shade reference, in the YSL Fusion Ink, B30 Almond works very well for my MAC NC30 skin. I thought when I first watched it, it was too dark, but it does work very well. And for the Dior Skin Star, the one that I have in this bottle is the shade 30, which I usually was in Dior a few years back, but just basing on the color in the bottle and when I swatch it in the back of my hand, I think it's a bit too dark for me now. But the one that I've been using is my sample of the shade 20 or 020. So I haven't actually really tried this shade 30, but I've been using the 20. So with regards to that, I'm not so sure if you're in MAC NC30, because the shade 020 or 20 works very well for me in the Dior Skin Star, you might actually be a 20 instead of a 30. So I'll begin with YSL. The YSL, first of all, in terms of packaging, so it has this golden cap it has this very non-traditional applicator, which is like a plastic, like doe foot applicator. It's also runny and watery, as you can see from the consistency. The Dior Skin Star is very traditional. It's the pump bottle, and they're both glass bottles, by the way. In terms of texture and consistency, the YSL is definitely a lot more watery, whereas the Dior Skin Star has a bit more of heft or weight to it. It is very much traditional foundation. It is creamy, but it's not very watery as a liquid foundation. Now, in terms of the feel, the Dior Skin Star boasts of being a weightless fluid. The YSL does as well. YSL markets itself as all-day long coverage stain with weightlessness, and as I previously discussed in my review, it truly nails that description. It is extremely weightless. In fact, it absorbs very quickly on the skin. It feels like a dry oil or like one of those facial oils when you apply. It's just that it has coverage. The Dior Skin Star, on the other hand, is very traditional foundation, and because it is Dior, it definitely has a very strong fragrance as well. It is weightless, but not as weightless as the YSL Fusion Ink foundation. But at the same time, it's not as heavy as the very traditional medium to full coverage premium luxury foundations that you are accustomed to. So in that aspect, it is much more lightweight. Now, in terms of long wear, I would have to say that the YSL Fusion Ink is definitely much more long wear, especially in the very humid and tropical climate that I am in. I find that the YSL can even work without powdering, and it does not break down at all. The Dior Skin Star, on the other hand, tends to not really break down, but get shiny, I think, after 2 or 3 hours, not very long. And I think it's because it is very extremely humid here, truly. So the Dior Skin Star is something that you definitely have to powder, and with a more substantial powder, not just a translucent powder. And the longevity in terms of the coverage, I don't see any breakdown, but definitely it does get shiny at a certain point. Now, in terms of finish, the finish of the YSL Fusion Ink is much more invisible. It truly just melts into the skin into nothing almost as soon as you apply it, and it looks like you just have truly amazing skin, whereas the Dior Skin Star is initially medium to full coverage. In fact, for my skin, luckily I don't have that much breakouts or blemishes as of the moment. To me, it is extremely instantly full coverage for my needs, so I don't even have to layer it anymore. The Dior Skin Star is also very much more buildable. The Dior Skin Star is not invisible. It's, I wouldn't say detectable, but I do know, or it's not as invisible looking as the YSL. It's quite opaque because of the coverage, but at the same time, in terms of an HD studio makeup, like photography, photo shoot, it is definitely much better than the YSL. And I did a photo shoot recently where one of the models actually shade matched the 030 that I had, so I used it on her, and I did see the extreme difference of her skin, the way it looked on the camera and even in person, compared to the ones where I used Ilamasca Skin Base, or what else did I use, or the other foundations that I had, and it was very striking. In fact, her skin looked very polished instantly, and the powder that I needed to use, or the amount of powder I needed to use, was very, very minimal. It was very fully, it was very HD instantly, and it was very, very impressive, in fact, because I remember right after applying her foundation, just couldn't stop commenting about how beautiful her skin was, and it was very minimal work. Whereas with the other models, I used other foundations, I had to layer quite a bit of other products just to get the finish I was happy with. So those are basically a few of the basics. I think people ask me which is better, I honestly cannot choose one over the other because they perform very differently and I use them for very different purposes. I think the YSL Fusion Ink is something that is amazing for daily wear. In fact, since I've purchased this, I've been using it as my base. It is beautiful on its own, and it's beautiful built with other complexion products or layered with other foundations in very thin layers. The DiorSkin Star, on the other hand, is beautiful for special events, for photo shoots, for even video. I have it on right now. It is HD and full coverage, yet it does not act like your traditional HD and full coverage where it's cakey, where it's heavy and it's very detectable. Being full coverage and HD finish, I think this foundation is definitely lightweight for the coverage that it gives. So they are two very different foundations. I definitely think they are the best foundation releases as of late, not just this season. Are they a must? I think yes. I think they're worth the purchase. I think they're definitely worth having, and I really cannot choose one over the other because I think they're equally amazing for what they promise to do or to give. So that is about it. I hope you guys found that interesting and informative. Thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day or a great evening.